The art of mastering patience. Do you have the patience to trust yourself and therefore trust the process? Because the thing is, whether you are looking to land your dream job in 90 days, start that business, grow that business, and have an increased life expansion in as soon as 90 days, well, patience is your key to rapid success. So therefore, let's just relax, calm down, and trust the process. Let's get started. One of my favorite quotes from the book Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu is the question that he asked: do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and for the water inside of you to clear? So interestingly, when the storm comes inside of us, whether we are going through inner turmoil and our emotions are absolutely turbulent, when we try to take impulsive actions, and therefore he talks about, do you have the patience to wait until the right action arises before you take them? You have to have the ability to wait. Wait until your inner mud is dried out. And so when you take the steps forward, you don't end up being slippery. You don't end up actually falling over from the mud being too slippery. And therefore, you get what you want in a more effortless way. So the thing with reality is that I ask myself, what exactly is impatience when it comes to manifesting and trying to make quantum leaps in our reality? Because these days, people are just really obsessed with getting instant results, instant sales, instant texting, instant proposals, instant dating, instant. But why not patience? Because I think that impatience is basically you saying to the 3D reality that you're not okay with the 3D reality. You need it to change. And so therefore, there's this sense of, I don't like what I'm seeing out there. And if it doesn't change, it's going to bother me. So basically, you're bothered by 3D reality. So this would look something like, let's just say a parent tells their children that I need you to get A grades. And if you don't get A grades, I'm going to be bothered by that. So then the parent gets impatient with their children, and then they force their children to study harder, especially the subjects that the children are not good at. They may force tutoring onto their children and give them what is best for their child, what they perceive to be the best for their child, without considering the child's emotional needs. So then the child grows up from this parent forcing them to be who they're not meant to be. They either do go on to get A grades, but they suppress themselves, suppress their emotions and stress, and later on they start manifesting this emotional suppression into things like breakdowns and inner turmoil. Therefore, having inside themselves the mud not settling. Or the child may just break down altogether. And this happens a lot when it comes to parental expectation. Or when it comes to things like, when I'm getting onto the call with Joe to make this sale, I really have to make sure that Joe pays me $2,000 on this call, because without it, I feel like I'm gonna fall behind and everyone is making their sales and having the job that they want, and I'm still here not having any income that is solid. So therefore, I have to close the sales. So this needing for things outside of you to go your way is pretty much impatience. And what happens when you signal to the universe that you're not okay with it being the way that it is? I'm not okay that my child is not performing as well. Or I'm not okay that I'm not about to make this sales call and I have to leave another week without $2,000 coming in. Well, it actually signals out that reality is here, right? Reality is your prize, the star. And you are below reality. And if you are below reality, how do you expect reality to give you what you want on the physical plane? And that's why we don't want to be playing the game in a way where we start off already losing the game mentally. Because mentally, we're saying that I don't have it. And if you don't have it, reality will not give you what you want, no matter what you do. Which then leads us to the first point. Are you ready for it? When we have this transactional relationship with the universe where we're saying that I'm attached and I need you to change, therefore it's like me asking you, what happens when you take the cake in the oven that is already baking out way too early? This happened to me at the beginning of my baking journey, but what happens? The batter, it collapses. Or even if on the surface, the batter looks okay, but if it's not fully cooked in the middle, what happens is that when you try to get it out and put it onto the baking sheet, it ruins. You can't do anything with it. And that's the same with you checking the 3D reality for it to change. When basically everything has a set formula in the physical world. A baby takes 9 months for it to be conceived. You know, the plants, this rose here, it will take a period of time for the seed to become the rose. So therefore, even though we can have an instant internal shift, but ultimately we have to learn how to detach from seeing things change on the physical plane instantly and come back to building some self-trust. Because the universe is pretty much universe. And if you are able to trust yourself, it means that you can trust life. So let's have a look at the person who is struggling to trust life, because she's going about things in a way that it's really narrow in her approach. The way she sees life is narrow and wonky, the way that it used to be for me. And if you're going about life in a way where you have scattered focus and you have no trust in how things are going to unfold, and you feel like you have to micromanage and force everything every step of the way, in the exact way you're baking the cake, and then you take it out to check it, and then you're like, no, I think it looks good on the surface, but then it needs a bit more time, and then you ruin the whole texture because you were impatient. So therefore, there's this fragile version of me from many years ago, with a fragile mind and lack of trust towards myself, and therefore trust towards reality. What tends to happen with this person who is impatient as hell is that they try to do things fast. But their definition of fast is making sure things happen fast on the physical plane. So therefore, you will try to take exponential leaps. And these leaps include things like crash diets that I used to do. So there was this period, I think back in 2018, where I got a full-time job in corporate sales, and it kind of screwed up my mental health. And basically, this corporate sales job, it influenced me to eat a lot during lunch and dinner, and I was out there socializing and having drinks with people, and I gained weight. So then I tried to lose it, but then because I didn't really enjoy that job long term, I booked this trip to Japan and Singapore with my mom. And I thought that holidays were supposed to rejuvenate me because I saw so many people going on vacations. And the thing is, I always thought that vacation is the key to happiness. But then by the time we got to Singapore and we booked Marina Bay Sands, and my mom at the time, we both put so much importance on what it means to book a hotel at Marina Bay Sands. So it's like, you've got to take Instagram pictures literally on the night we arrived to tell people that we've checked in at this hotel and that kind of thing. So in a way, the trip became a bit pressuring for me. And so I wanted to have beautiful pictures, and I was trying to do YouTube vlogs about it. But because of this pressure about the holiday, but also the pressure from work that I've been building up for months, it's like I had such an impatience towards how the trip unfolded, which eventually led my mom to first getting sick from the cold in Singapore. But then after my mom got sick, I got sick too. So both of us got sick during this trip in both Japan and Singapore. By the time I got to Japan, I was really, really upset that it's not unfolding the way that it should. Why do things have to be like this? Why don't I look good in the trips? I feel so tired and exhausted all the time. And to compensate for this feeling of exhaustion, what I would then do is eat excessively. So therefore, after I started eating a whole bunch of things in Japan, like a lot of Japanese desserts, and my mom would just rest in the hotel room, so I'd just walk around and find anything to eat. By the end of that 10 days trip, I gained about 7 to 8 kilograms. And it was bad. So I was like, this cannot be happening to my life. I gained 7 kilograms in 10 days. So I was desperate to lose it. So what I did was I got a coach on Facebook who taught me how to do juice fasting. And he said, you basically drink 6 glasses of juice, any kind of juice, like beetroot mixed with apple and orange and celery, that kind of thing. 6 glasses of juices a day only for 30 days. So I probably went about it the wrong way because it was heading towards winter in Sydney. So I tried to do this juice fast. And then afterwards, I lost about 6 kilograms in a month, I think. It was 6 kilograms. Maybe in about 15 days. But then after 15 days, I didn't really lose any more, just maybe 1 more kilogram after that. So altogether, it was 6 to 7 kilograms in 30 days, I lost it. But I remembered on the last day, before the 30 days mark, I collapsed. I was like, I cannot do this. I need the beans right now to break the fast. And I felt like I couldn't stand up. And my mom and dad just had to go to Woolies to get the beans for me. And I had to lie down on the couch and I was crying. And I told myself I would never, ever do this to myself ever again when it comes to wanting to be pretty and just wanting to gain control of my life. And this painful experience only happened because of impatience. Impatience. And this is what the trajectory looks like, where your nervous system is not calibrated towards that instant breakthrough that you want yet. It's not calibrated on the physical plane. But what happens is that you overdo it way too fast. So then this is maybe day 7 and you're already trying to deadlift on day 7 when you haven't built up the proper reps to have your muscles calibrate at a level where 30 kilograms is not dangerous for you. So therefore, when I crash diet, and on this day 30, I remember how painful it was, because I promised myself I would never go put myself under this kind of situation again, where it was life-threatening to me. It felt like it at the time. I then literally gained back even more. I gained the entire thing back within weeks. So I didn't get significantly chubbier, but I gained back everything that I lost. So I questioned myself, did I lose water weight? Did I lose muscle? What did I even lose? And life was hell at the time. So therefore, I instantly came back down again. And because I came back down, now I have less optimism towards life. So then you're trying to do quick fixes to then compensate for this dip, and you're just kind of like tumultuous, and you never get through a breakthrough, because for every single dip, you lose trust towards life. You lose trust. And this one, you also lose trust. And just like relationships, what happens when you lose trust towards the person? It's hard to gain it back. It's like you have to work extra hard just to gain back the same level of trust, versus if you've never broken the trust and you just sustain it, it would have been better. So that's why, as the version of you who will refuse to do things that are dangerous, not healthy for yourself, what you have to now do is this. The version of you who is obviously way more loving towards yourself, and you trust life that things will unfold for you in miraculous ways if you just let it be. What you're going to do is you're going to elevate your state of consciousness to be off match to the exact end state that you want to be in. And that may include things like having a beautiful shredded bikini body. But then you've got to accept as well that sometimes it might not take 3 days to shred like that. So therefore, whether that is, again, bigger things, 120 grand Google job, whether that is 6 to 7 figure business, whether that is sales promotion, whether that is a major life change and a life expansion, as much as you can do instant manifestation in the spiritual and mental plane, on the physical plane, you must let it be. Let the seeds grow in a way that it needs to grow. So therefore, this version of you whose decisions, their habits, their thought, their emotion, their self-talk, their conviction, their perception, their expectation, their focus, their attention, and even mental attitude, it has to be 100% congruent to the version of you who has. So the version of you who has her predominant feeling state, or his predominant feeling state, is going to be that of inner security. It's going to be relaxed. It's going to be relieved. So therefore, no matter what the 3D shows you, this is 3D reality, okay? The red line. No matter what the 3D reality shows you and all this wonkiness, and it only merges with you towards the end. In order for you to make the 3D reality merge with you towards the end, is that you have to learn to take small steps without degrading yourself, diminishing yourself, and overly rushing yourself in the times where you need to take small steps. So for example, if you try to diet and you're not fit like I used to be 10 years ago, when I couldn't do squats, I couldn't run distance, I couldn't do anything, couldn't even do 5 push-ups. I was not a fit person growing up. If you cannot do 10 squats straight away, you want to start off with 5 squats. If you can't swim the way that I can never swim my whole life, you don't try to jump into the adult pool straight away and try to do 50 meters. At least if you're going to jump in the adult pool, you start from pole 1. This is you. Instead of you trying to get all the way to here in the beginning. And you actually celebrate yourself for taking that small incremental steps. So therefore, because you take incremental step, you build this thing called trust with yourself. It might be a bit unsafe, but majority of it is safe. So that's why they say, yeah, you got to take risks, but then the risk has not be overly risky. There has to be a sort of safetiness in yourself where it's a bit out of my comfort zone, but it won't destroy me like the fat diets I was doing. So therefore, once you start to build a bit of trust here, The trust is this thing that happens like a green tick. So now you got it again, whether that is pursuing your business, going to get that job, improving your life, improving your mental health. And instead of you being like, it needs to happen in 14 days, it needs to, you're saying, it's all right. I trust life. It doesn't have to. So I'm going to take the next really tiny step. I'm going to probably read only 10 pages. That's it, 10 pages. And because you're like, I haven't been reading a lot, so I'm just going to build up the reps. Now there's a self-trust. Green tick, another trust. So then you take another small step, right? And you might be like, look, I'm going to start also doing a bit of a workout that suits me. So I'm just going to do moderate cardio with a bit of weight, just a bit. And you don't go over the top with it. And so what your body then feels is that it feels challenged in a positive way, but you also build this thing again called trust. So then you're like, actually, you know what? I'm going to try fasting, but not because I'm desperate to shed, but because I saw that, fasting gives you some benefits, but you got to do it in a safe way. So let me try out this technique because I'm curious about it and see how it can improve my health. So I'm going to try 1 day fasting, no food, just water. So you try like this 1 day fasting, but in a way that serves you, just to learn about your body, what you can handle, just to learn about your mental resilience. And again, you do it safely, so then you build a self-trust. So then once you keep getting these ticks, you keep accumulating these ticks until eventually reality starts to merge with you. You start to make exponential leaps, and then reality also follows you. Because what happens is that at every single one of these dots, points, you're giving yourself a tick of self-trust that you're not reckless. And this trust can only be built from inner patience, that it's working. Once your subconscious accepts that whatever you're doing, no matter how small the result seems on the physical plane, and no matter if the 3D is telling you, the 3D is literally telling you, no, it's not working. No, the weights, the kilograms haven't went down that much. Like for me, I don't even check the scale because it's all about how I feel and how I, fit into clothes and stuff. And if I feel amazing already, like this, why do I have to check if I've gone up and down the scales as much? But other people micromanage the 3D so much that it creates way too much pressure. And once too much pressure gets built, then you're pretty much done. So it's interesting because the faster you try to go, the slower you actually go. But the more patient you are with taking incremental, stable steps that compound eventually, it actually creates a very fast exponential growth where the 3D has no choice but to conform with you. And that is the first key. Let's move on to the second part. I think it's 2 L's. The second point that I want to emphasize with you is the key to mental resilience. Because without mental resilience, we can get easily swayed by situations that we personally don't want to experience. Mental resilience means that when the 3D reality is giving you like a test, and I believe everyone goes through a life test where there are multiple realities that you kind of have to unlock before you get to your final breakthrough. So let's just say that this is your breakthrough line. And that whether that is your 120 grand Google job, whether that is your 6 to 7 figure business, whether that is your sales promotion, whether that is just life expansion. This is your breakthrough mark, the finish line. But what kind of has to happen internally is that the incremental self-trust has to build, but you also kind of need to build this thing called conviction. So conviction, to me at least, doesn't happen because I did hypnosis and I rewired my subconscious, getting to alpha or theta brainwave state, and I put into my subconscious that I can swim, I can swim, I can swim. It's part of the process to go into alpha or theta brainwave state, and you really plan to your subconscious that you're a swimmer. But unless I jumped into the ocean water in winter to do the swims and go through all the seaweeds tugging at my feet and all that kind of stuff, and people overtaking me and managing myself in the swells that threw me on the other side of the lane, it's really hard for me to believe that I can do 1,000 meters, let alone get to 2,000 meters. So hypnosis and subconscious rewiring inner work kind of has to be paired with some physical evidences. But these evidences is not seeking evidence from the 3D. It's self-generated evidence. So it's really interesting because a lot of times reality kind of gives you like these, like level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and level 6. Whether that is, I started off making 5 grand a month in my first business, and I'm trying to level from 5 grand to maybe 20 grand. So then the key is that you got to figure out how to get to 5 grand first before you can then set the foundation straight and increase to 20 grand. You can also take quantum jumps. Like it doesn't have to be 5 to 20. It can be 5 to 50 if you're calibrated at that level. But the first key of evidence has to kind of, happen. You need to get the green tick first before you open the new reality. The thing is that when I used to learn to swim at icebergs, and the environment to me is quite pressuring at certain times. So if you go there for fun, like in the afternoon, it's fine. But I like going there in the morning, where locals go in the morning, and they do really serious swimming. And I usually like to go into the fast lane in the morning. And what happens is that when I swim, right? When I swim, like my mind wishes that it's going to be a smooth journey, especially in the ocean water kind of place. And I wish that every single time that I go, it's going to feel blissful. Just like how people sell, Bondi Beach to you, that it's a vacation place. It's supposed to be blissful and peaceful and all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting because the more I went there, the more I realized that the weather is not the same each time. Of course you can choose a good day to go, but let's just say on rainy days or on windy days, ultimately the wave becomes unstable. The wave becomes really unstable. And this is me. This is me trying to get through to the finish line of an unstable wave. Along this unstable wave are a bunch of extremely seasoned swimmers, like big, muscular, big men, like athletic, tall, long legs, long arms. So their one stroke is the equivalent of my 5 tiny strokes at the time. And so there's like a bunch of obstacles like other swimmers, and there's like really giant swells that come at you. And I wasn't even wearing goggles at the time. The thing is, if I want to be the swimmer that I am today, who can sustain 1,000 meters regularly, almost every time, and if I want to do 1,500 meters, that's not a problem too. I just have to push a bit harder. I'm not going to tell the seasoned swimmers at this beach to please stop swimming here, or please tone it down. You never tell a swimmer to tone it down and swim slower because you're trying to swim in the fast lane. If you want to swim in the fast lane along with other seasoned swimmers, you have to adapt yourself to be just as fast, or you have to adapt your mind to be okay with getting overtaken. So that's what I had to do. When you try to swim at a place that is very pressuring and there are crowds sometimes, and they look at you, like they don't look at you, but they're just everywhere. And there are people taking pictures sometimes, and there's just a bunch of people, and you're like, I feel like a panic attack, but it's not exactly that. But I feel like I can't breathe. I feel too overwhelmed. I feel like I'm about to like collapse sometimes because there's cold shock and there's like, everything is just too overwhelming. The key is for you not to tell the crowds to please go home. The key is for you not to command the beach to please be empty when it's not going to be empty on that day. The key is to practice your mental resilience. There are some things about success that you kind of have to sacrifice to have it. For me, in order for me to be able to swim confidently in the fast lane, and still till this day, I'm still not a fast swimmer, I still get overtaken all the time. I need to sacrifice the version of me who demands the 3D reality to have to change to suit my will. So let's just say, like my fragile self would expect people to stop overtaking me at a fast lane instead of me just going to the slow lane. But the mentally resilient version of me is going to adapt my way of thinking and be okay with getting overtaken, to be okay with people telling me, please go to the slow lane for your own safety here and there. The version of me who's mentally resilient is going to accept that it's okay that I'm not the best, but I am the best for myself. Because when you don't have acceptance, when you don't have gentle acceptance for the 3D reality, what you're creating is massive resistance. And once there's a resistance, this door won't open. So let's hypothetically say that you want to get this job really badly, but based on the interview structure, there needs to be an assessment center period, then there has to be a panel interview, and then there has to be a partner interview, a bit of a waiting period, and then decision. Now let's just say that before you even get to your assessment center, you have to be okay with sending out your resume, or your LinkedIn is very how do I say this? Your LinkedIn is presentable and it's attractive. So your LinkedIn, your resume is beautiful, and you're qualified and it's perfectly written in a way. In order for you to remove this, the waiting period, your energy has to be okay. You have to be okay that they may not get back to you just because you have a great resume and a great LinkedIn. Once you are okay, then you open this door to get to reality 2, where you then go to assessment center. In the assessment center, at least when I used to do interview coaching, and I went to assessment center too, and now you have to go and compete with other people to get seen. So basically you get put into like role play situations, and you've got to do group work, and you've got to allocate who presents what, who's the leader, who's the timer, who's the whatever role they have to get presented. And it's interesting because in assessment centers, the panelists don't look at how perfect you are, but they look at how you solve problems in a team. And if you show this character that you're willing to be a good listener, you're willing to adapt to your team, you're willing to be a team player by being fluid and understanding other people's needs, then you get chosen to go to the next round. But if you're a bit too smart, you show off a bit of arrogance and you want things to go the way that you want it to go, although it's the correct thing for you to do to hold your ground, but if you really, really want that job, they will expect you to adapt to the team environment so that you are able to be cohesive and go towards one goal as a team. In assessment center, if your ego gets in the way, which I learned as well, and you expect people to revolve around your orbit in assessment center in this context. You expect people to like listen to you only. But then 5 people in a team of a competitive nature all have strong opinions. Or you expect that your talent has to be seen, but you don't look at the criteria properly for what this company wants from you. They don't want you to outshine others. As in, yeah, go on and shine, but there has to be a way for you to adapt to the culture overall if you want that job. So in order for you to even win against this assessment center, you have to accept that this is the nature of the environment you're entering into. Just like when I accept at icebergs each time, some days they're going to be a seaweed, some days the swells are going to be harsh, some days I'm going to get cold shock from the water. The water's not going to get warmer in winter. And sometimes you kind of have to accept that this is the nature of your environment. And if you want to win against it, it's about making peace with it. The thing is, after you do your assessment center and you're like, I'm willing to let down my ego and be patient. So therefore I have mental resilience to adapt and be a team player. Basically, you then remove this because now they start to see your potential fully and you start to go to reality 3, level 3, where now it may be like a waiting period actually. So now it's like, do you get chosen or not? You might have to wait a bit. And the waiting period, you might be like, do you choose to be anxious because you're impatient? Or do you choose to be secure, relaxed, and relieved because you're in the end state and you've done your very best? So therefore, even if you don't get chosen, you're not going to interpret it as rejection towards you. So then afterwards, because your energy is surrendered and you also did your very best, you get chosen for the next round, which is the partner interview or panel interview. So now you're going to be sitting as one person and there's going to be 3 other people from different departments, one from HR, one from finance, one from this and that. And they're not going to judge you. One guy, 2 chicks, whatever. And the guy might be an analytical thinker. The other chick may be like a more creative thinker. And the other one may be more emotional. So people make decisions based on their characteristics too. So I learned about this 4 quadrant. There's the analytical, there's the decisive person that like wants things fast. There's the emotional person that kind of uses how they feel to make decisions. And the other one, I don't remember, but I'll put the chart up here. Anyway, so now you're going to be meeting people with different personalities. And the thing is, you can't tell the analytical thinker to please be creative. You can't tell the person who makes decisions with their logics to please be more emotional. And you don't tell the emotional person that makes decisions based on their intuitions to please be more objective, be more logical. You can't. So therefore, these 3 people have different personality. You know, one might be extrovert as well, one might be introvert, and one might be ambivert. You're not going to tell an extrovert person to please, like, be quiet, just don't talk too much, don't ask you too many questions. And you're not going to tell the introverted person to please speak up a bit more. You're going to adapt by accepting that in this panel interview, this is the nature of the environment in the interview context. So now you're going to start accepting that you're in here talking to extrovert, introvert, ambivert with different ways of making decisions. And it's going to get at you that it's hard because like, how do I impress all 3 of them? But because you are patient with the process and you trust yourself and you have mental resilience, if an introvert starts to throw you a question that literally makes you fall off your chair, like, because they don't talk a lot, but then when they throw the question, it's like, whoa, what the hell? You're not going to react and expect them to be different. And you're not going to also react and expect them to like, you know, give you like a, oh, I see. Oh, okay. They might have a resting face. You never know. So your responsibility is to cultivate such mental resilience that no matter who you speak to, you are grounded in your own confidence. Like you are grounded in your own being. So it doesn't matter what the environment is. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. You're just going to be who you are, who is able to adapt, who is non-reactive to their reaction towards you. And as a result of you cultivate this kind of like fluidity, both three of them, they come to a conclusion that you're a team player and they want to work with you. Like they have a feeling that if she was like working in my team, I would have a beautiful day at work for 8 hours a day. So now you're good. So during the waiting period, let's just say like they've chosen you. So what happens is that, you know, again, instead of you waiting in anxiety, you're going to be waiting with inner certainty that even if one of them doesn't show you explicitly that they like you, you're going to be certain that you got it right because it feels right to you, because you're not attached and you did your best. So then this surrendered energy then brings you to the next level, which is the partner interview. Now this is interesting because now it's one-on-one. I think partner is easier than panel because one-on-one. So now you're going to the top guy. And this guy's like, you know, whatever, 10 years experience in the industry. And interestingly, you might be like a more creative thinker, but this guy is an analytical thinker. Oh crap. the personality is not going to match anymore. Therefore, when he asks you a question, he expects direct answers. He doesn't want you to beat around the bush. He doesn't want long sentences. He doesn't want filler words. He just wants you to say things like this. So he's like, so what is the sales result that you made last month? You're not going to beat around the bush and you're just going to say in exact numbers. So this guy, he's demanding you to give him exact figures. What percentage was it? In what month? How much revenue did you close in the numbers, the exact numbers? Don't give me like, yeah, my strength is my ability to talk to customers. No, just give me the numbers. You end up being this guy in the partner interview. As the person of you who's patient with life and you have mental resilience, you're not going to be impatient with him and tell him to please consider your other good traits when what he wants to hear is the numbers. What results did you create in your past job experience? How many years did you do it? How many years did you work before? Give me the exact data. Okay, so if this guy wants data from you to measure your success metrics, mentally resilient version of you is not gonna like tell him to no. Ask me if I'm a great baker in the team. Ask me if I'm willing to do other things for my team. Ask me if I'm friendly. No, you're going to have mental resilience. Be patient and give him the data he wants. You're going to listen for the key in his wording. You're going to observe his natural pacing. You're going to mirror him in a way where this guy's really like, his expression is expressionless, but you're not going to react to his expressionless towards you. You're going to mirror that. So you're not going to, so what, this is so funny because this is actually real stuff that I've encountered before and I tell my clients like back then. Don't let anything outside of you intimidate you and just mirror if you know. So basically, if this guy is stoic, so you kind of like adapt yourself to not be overly, have over expression, that kind of stuff. Because once this guy, you know, Joe, he feels like, yeah, you know what, like she's not too much. She's actually pretty grounded. Like she's quite relatable and she's human, and the way I relate to her, like she's real and I like that. She's quite authentic. Because authentic is not exactly about, you know, you being fully like sharing your whole life story to strangers. Authenticity is kind of like you're okay with yourself. So if that means you don't speak as much, you don't speak as much. If that means giving him just data, then you give him just data. So this is what I call mental resilience, is that you start adapting, but not in a way where you're shrinking yourself. You're adapting to what the environment is at that moment. So you win against it, like swimming. So therefore, now Joe's like, I like her. She has some solid results to show for. There's data, there's numbers. You know, her KPIs are good. She's not braggy about it. She's not flexing. She's not sugarcoating. I like her. And now, there's a waiting period. Oh God. And let's just say that the company is on freeze for 3 months. So now, they don't get back to you in 3 months. A natural person would panic. Like when Deloitte made my client wait for 6 months. It's interesting because like they made my client, June at the time, wait for 6 months. But then June had to go into another partner interview. And with that partner interview, the second time after 6 months, we did it again. Like she came to meet me and her, we practiced our role play. I tried my best to make her feel like seen and confident and bring out the best traits in her. So she went in fresh with that energy. And within 15 minutes, something amazing happened and she got offered the job. So therefore, if it's 3 months in the 3D and you can't change the physical plane, you can't tell Joe, can you please make the decision quicker? Because, you know, when it comes to hiring big companies, there may be multiple key decision makers and it's not that easy. If it's 3 months, you accept it. But then you move on with your life and you nourish your life with positive life force. Whether by, you know, getting into more working out and getting into painting and just doing things that make you feel elevated so that when the job picks you, you're coming in as the version of you who's even more elevated, who's even more ready to work. And that is where the breakthrough happened because your energy is surrendered and magic happens when you surrender. And then you get that job, whether that's Google, whether that's the major accounting firms that my clients got into. This is what you call patience along the way. Oh, I'm getting cold because it's winter right now. Anyway, let's move on to the third point. Ready? Okay. Now, the last point I want to talk to you about is the idea of building your own inner home. And I think Louise Hay says this in the book, You Can Heal Your Life. And it's just the voice and her soothing, the way her voice is so soothing when she says like, when it comes to changing yourself, as in transforming from the old version of you to a new version of you, it's kind of like being at a Thanksgiving dinner and you're washing the dishes from a Thanksgiving dinner. So therefore, the process of, you know, healing and shadow work and talking to your inner child and just making peace with all the anxiety and restlessness that you've went through. Basically, she talks about how the process is not clean. The process is going to be a bit messy and it's okay. You've got to accept yourself in the process. So when it comes to building your inner home, she also talks about how negative thoughts are like weed in your mind. And the more you berate yourself, the more you punish yourself, the more you criticize yourself in the process because you're so impatient for the 3D reality to change in the way that serves you, the more you're planting weeds in your garden. So what we want to do is actually plant flowers in our garden. Secure and attached. So the interesting thing that I want to couple this with is Master Shi Heng Yi's 5 hindrances that I talked about before. And he explained this in his TED Talk in the year 2020. And these 5 hindrances were sensual desire, ill will, which is aversion, then there's restlessness, there's dullness, and then there's skepticism. Now, a person who is attached, one of these hindrances like it did for me for many years, is going to pretty much cloud over them. So let's just say this person suffers from restlessness and monkey mind. Basically, their home looks something like this. There's like weeds everywhere. There's a bit of flowers sometimes, but it's mostly like jumbled up and there's like weed. But this person, she may like sometimes have skepticism and a bit of sensual desire, which is distraction. But she tries her best to understand that this is the way the environment is. You know, you can't change Joe, who is analytical, to be creative thinker and kind of stuff like that. And you can't tell the cold ocean water in winter to please up your temperature in winter. It's not going to happen. Basically, a secure person is accepting, gentle acceptance toward her environment as it is. And so, her garden looks something like this. This. See, and this is her garden. Beautiful flowers everywhere. And the only difference between the attached and secure person is the level of patience. So, honestly, I have a relative who's a monk. So he's like my grandpa, and he's actually like monk master. And he was, when we go back to Thailand to meet him, like we pretty much like, he'll get out these chairs, and then all of us will sit in these chairs in a circle, like my dad, my mom, my brother, myself, my grandpa, who's his brother. And he'd talk about this thing called as is. And that in Thailand, it's always hot, like really, really hot right now. And he says like, this is the weather as it is. So the more you accept it, the less you get frustrated within yourself that it's way too hot. And as is a very, I think it's a very interesting way of looking at life, that sometimes we wish that life would be miraculous and that vacations will feel like vacations, like you see on Instagram pictures, or that if you want to lose weight, like once you have the bikini body, it's going to feel different, but it doesn't. Just accepting that things are the way that they are will bring you so much inner peace. Because the person who is secure, she has thoughts that are nourishing to her soul. She has thoughts like, it's okay, I've done well, that was great actually, I'm proud of you. And she has these affirmations on automatic loop. Or, that was easy, making money was easy. And even things like, thank you, that was great. So this person who's secure and more accepting of her environment has thoughts that resemble gratitude, gentle gratitude. So even though like manifestation teachers teach about thoughts on a loop, and you've got to like robotically affirm 1,000 times a day, but I find gentle affirmation to be so powerful in that it's natural to you. So the key is to get into a state where you are secure, but the way to feel secure is that you win against these 5 hindrances when it comes up, so that the environment either way, sometimes it just doesn't change for that moment. Things stay the same, okay? Both of these people in the outer world may experience silence in the 3D. People haven't gotten back to her. Like for me, like things haven't changed as much in the 3D for the last few months, but internally I've skyrocketed. And so during like winter season and you know the plants are not growing, your rose is not growing and there's no evidence in the 3D that the rose is happening, the rose is growing. The secure person, she goes about her day saturating her mind with thoughts like, I'm proud of you today for planting that seed. I'm proud of you today that you've gone on to do other things and you made yourself feel nourished. So therefore life starts to feel more satiating in her experience. A secure person says to herself, I've done well. Yeah, I've done well. And, you know, That was pretty easy, actually. That obstacle that I thought was going to be hard, it was easy. And then she starts to have abundance flow through her life where the money comes out of nowhere. People gift her money. The money gets sent by a relative or whatever. And then suddenly, like, the job that she wanted, it lands in the 3D. And so her mental feedback is kind of like, that was easy, actually. And thank you, universe. Thank you for giving this to me. But a person with restlessness and monkey mind, and then therefore descends back into dullness. And also things like heaviness. They start to have these mental loops that kind of says things like, nothing's changing. The way that I did for so many years, where I would look out to the 3D and I noticed that the 3D is not changing, damn it. This person would then also look out and be like, it sucks. But not only that it sucks, she puts the emotional charge of frustration, discouragement, disappointment into experience. So therefore it goes on a loop where she sees that it hasn't changed. So she sees, and then she feels agitated. But then after that, the feeling creates a vibration, a frequency that is of lower resonance. According to Dr. David R. Hawkins' map of consciousness chart, now this person descends into agitation, resentment, pride, anger, apathy even. So they descend back into the lower rung of the map of consciousness chart. So then it's like a lower rung. And this then gets reflected in the 3D of things not changing. And then they keep observing it. So then they observe it. So it's like a pattern, like a loop. This, you know what it's caused by? The main cause of it? It's impatience. Because you keep checking the 3D for evidence. And then when there's impatience, then you descend back instantly to emotions that are vibrational resonance of impatience, which is discouragement, apathy, hopelessness, anger, pride, all those things. And so then your thoughts become things like, it sucks, it doesn't change, and then there's weed all over your inner garden. So then nobody wants to get involved with you, whether that is Jane from Google or Joe who's like, nah, I have money to pay her, but nah, I'm not going to work with her because there's something off about her vibration. Like the way she emits out her vibe is just nah. But this person who is secure, her loop is completely different. That's because she compounded the feeling of knowing that she's the source. So therefore this relaxed state, this secure state, this okay state is kind of like a beautiful investment in herself that compounds over time into actual riches. And that's what I want to point out to you, that patience is so important when it comes to manifesting, because it's really not about the techniques, the affirmations, subliminals, and all that stuff. It's literally about you conquering your inner state, to be patient with the process and trust life, therefore trusting yourself that it's working. Because the minute that you decide that it's working and you have conviction towards it, nothing can throw you off your path. And so this is it. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you do, there's a waitlist down below, and I'm looking forward to help you, if you're a high achieving woman, reach your tipping point in 8 to 12 weeks by shattering your inner worth ceiling. So if that sounds like you, get in touch soon and see you soon. Bye-bye.